In most computer programming languages, a while loop is a control flow statement that allows code to be executed repeatedly based on a given Boolean condition. The while loop can be thought of as a repeating if statement. The while control structure consists of a block of code and a condition. The condition is evaluated, and if the condition is true, the code within the block is executed. This repeats until the condition becomes false, because the while loop checks the condition before the block is executed. In summary, the while loop statement executes a statement or a block of statement until a specified expression evaluates to false. Now let's start with our control structure. Let's create a new project. I'll click the new project from the startup page and select Windows Form and name this control structure or structures, and click OK to build project. Next is let's expand our form here and change the name to from 1 to control structure or structures, because we're going to be using a lot of changes to control structures. Structures UE. Okay. Next, you can change the name here, but I'll leave it by default and go on with this. The next thing the next control I would like to drag to my stage now, I'll introduce to you, is the tab control inside the containers pane. And with this container, I'm going to drag the tab controls to the stage, or to my form, and so that I'll be able to write multiple codes here, code 1, code 2, and lots more. Now let's play around with some of the properties of this tab control. You can add more tabs here. By default, you have two tab page or pages. Then you can have your control here and other controls here, just like this. Let's do something. Let's play with some of the properties here. I want to dock this to my entire page. So to do so, we can check the behavior. Let's do something. Let's set the dock style to fill. The dock style determines which borders of the control are bound to the container. So I want the container bound to be the form itself. Not only that, I want to change for the tab page 1. I want to change the name, so I'll click the tab page and change this name to while the text to while control structure, and change the background here. Let's change the background from transparent something cool. Let's change it to light gray slate or something goes to white. Let's look for something. Okay, lavender blush. Okay, oops, even like this. Hold this. Okay, now let's stick to this. Notice that if you check the tab page 2, you see different background layout. You have to set this. So I'm going to stick to this white control structure. So in this example, we want to use white control structure to get the class average between from 1 to 10, or from 1 to any number you input. Now to do, we need text box, of course, and we need a label or 2. Also, we need button to trigger our events. And let's get this short and let's change this property to the text to number, or maximum number. Okay, Let's get this out of your way. Next, you can change the text box 1, the programming name to something like, let's change it to max number using the Algorithm style, and change our button to, let's say, calculate, and change the display name to calculate user. That's just the display name. And I'm going to double click the button now to write code behind the button so it triggers some event for us. Next, we are in calculate underscore click. So when I click this button, an event will be triggered. Let's have an integer and call it total, and then integer, and call this integer average. Okay, and let's call this integer counter, and here let's set total to 0 and counter equals 1, so to start from 1. Next, we now do something here. The value, let's add one more integer value. Let us initialize it for now. We're now going to tell this guy that while this counter is less than or equal to, that is less than or equal to, we convert text box. Let's get the name of the text box, the programming name for this text box, which is max number. So go back to this code behind and then convert to integer now. Convert dot to integer. So let's say integer 32. Max number dot text. So we're converting the text to integer. The most important thing you need to know that using the while statement, you cannot use semicolon to terminate it from here because it's a compound statement, same as the if statement. Now we have to begin the compound statement by using the begin and the end, the begin the while statement or while control structure. And the next thing we need to do now is to enter something like we want to iterate it. Then after the iteration, we now divide it by the number of by this number, maximum value. Now we can now do something like this. We can say total value now equals total value plus the counter itself. Notice our counter starts from 1, that is the total value will start from. So we need to end this one now. There's an error here, so we need to end it with bracket. We have two brackets, open brackets, two open brackets, and of course we need to end it with two open brackets. Now the next thing is the total is equal to total plus counter. But we need to iterate this counter so that when you iterate this counter, that is this counter will move from 1 to our specified maximum number. Then we add it to our counter, to the total. Now next thing, we will use counter equals counter plus 1, or for short you can write it like this. For short, counter plus plus is the same thing as counter equals counter plus 1, just by writing C++. Now the next thing we need to do now is, after doing the iteration, we need to do the division to the average. We need to find the average. To do that, outside the loop now, because I don't want it to be calculated for me outside the loop. I want it to be done outside the loop. After calculating the total for me, the next thing we want to check for the average value now. Now the average will be equals total divided by the maximum number. I think it is converted to test and with the maximum number, if I'm right with the code. So in other words, if it is 5, if you had 5 here, this will be 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 divided by 5. So we now write message box dot show average. I want to show average, but the average must be converted to string before message box can show that, and save our project. So we no longer need the value. Let's get rid of that. Let's test our project and see how it will look like. So here I'm going to put 5 and calculate it. So the average, let's do the mathematical calculation. 1 plus 2, that's 3, plus 3, that's 6, plus 4, that's 10, plus 5, that's 15 divided by 5, 3. There we go. Now even if you want to, even if it is 5,000 now, this will do the calculation for you, 2,500. Now let's shut this down. I want to shut this down and step through the code, complete total, so that you see how the code runs. Let's step through the code and see what's going on behind the scene. So I'm going to put a breakpoint here and then start the project again, and let's add 5 here and click calculate, and this will go back to our code. Now our counter is 1 and this value is 5. Let's step through the code one more time. Let's step into the code, step through, step out. So because counter total is 0, 0 plus counter 1, and step again. So total will now be 1, and this will increase by 1 because of the plus plus, C plus plus, or counter plus plus, and the condition again. Let's run, because the condition, your code will test for the condition again. Is counter less than or equal to 5? Yes, because counter is less than or equal to less than 5 but not equal to 5. But because of that, or because of the word or, this condition will be met again, and we run the code one more time. Now we now have total to be 3 because counter is 2. Counter is this one is, the total is 3 and plus 2, so counter will be 5. Total will be 5. This one will increase again to be 3. Let's step in again. This will test the condition again. Is 3 less than 5? Yes. The code will run again and again. Let's check that one out. So the total will be 6. Counter will increase again. If you don't put this counter plus plus, this counter will be less than 5. Program will crash because nothing to stop the loop. So until your memory consumption is out of bound or overflow, the program will crash. Now the counter plus plus is now 3. Let's step through the code now. We have counter is 4, which is still less than 5. To run again, yes, counter is now 5. Counter is 5, which is now equal to 5 but not less than 5. This will run again. As you can see, we have counter plus plus, which will now be 6. So counter will now be 6 because counter is 6 less than 5, no, and 6 is not equal to 5. So the control structure, the while control structure, will now get out of the loop, and we stop now because this condition will no longer be met, and move on to the next line of code. So we'll move on. So we'll test the condition now and move on to the next line of code, which is the average. So average is equal to 15 divided by 5. You have 3, and the message box will display your answer, which is 3. So even though if you have, let me stop this now and go to code. Even though it is 500 or 1000 or 50,000, or anything. You can calculate, you can do your while loop and get it done.